It starts off with two officers, Parker Barnes and John Donovan, stepping off a subway train into a sea of people wearing identical gray suits. But things get really strange when the crowd suddenly takes off running and disappears into a restaurant. That's when we realize something truly eerie is going on. These people seem like they're part of some kind of virtual reality simulation. They walk right through each other and even say the same things in unison. It's like the world itself isn't real. But Barnes and Donovan aren't here to take in the sights. They're on the hunt for a dangerous criminal named SID 6.7, whose name stands for sadistic, intelligent, and dangerous, not someone you want to mess with. And when they finally track him down, all hell breaks loose. There's gunfire, there's electrocution, and there's even a moment where it looks like our heroes might not make it out alive. But just when it seems like all is lost, something miraculous happens. Barnes and Donovan both vanish into thin air, leaving us all wondering what the heck just happened. We're suddenly shown that our two heroes, Parker Barnes and John Donovan, are strapped into some kind of VR chair and being jostled around like nobody's business. But things take a turn for the worse when Donovan doesn't make it out alive. As it turns out, they were both being used as test subjects for a virtual reality training system designed for police officers. But clearly, things aren't working out quite as planned. To make matters worse, Parker soon realizes that the criminal he was hunting, SID 6.7, had cheated during their fight. Electrocution wasn't supposed to be part of the game, and yet somehow SID managed to use it to his advantage. Parker tells his buddy Billy, who happens to be the chief of police, and soon enough the higher-ups in charge of the VR project order it to be shut down. But that's not all. There's a programmer named Dr. Daryl Lindenmayer who created SID, and he's not too happy about the project being cancelled. Things are getting tense, to say the least. And if that wasn't enough drama for you, there's even more to Parker's story. He used to be a police officer himself, but he wound up in prison for taking down a political criminal named Matthew Grimes. It seems Grimes took Parker's wife and daughter away from him, and in the process of trying to get them back, Parker accidentally shot two news reporters. Yikes. Now he's a convicted criminal serving a life sentence. Parker is taken back to prison where obviously everyone hates him, since he used to be a cop. He gets in a fight with a fellow inmate, then gets beaten up by the police, and thrown in his cell. Back at the research facility, things are getting even more intense. Dr. Lindenmayer is having a chat with the creepy AI criminal, SID, and it seems that SID has a mind of his own. Lindenmayer accuses him of causing Donovan's death, and tells him he's going to be shut down. But Sid's response will send shivers down your spine. He says, "I will never be shut down," with a grin that's downright bone-chilling. Meanwhile, Parker is meeting with a consultant named Madison Carter to try and get a reduced sentence. But Madison isn't just any old consultant, she's a renowned criminal psychologist who's working on a book. You can bet she's seen some crazy stuff in her time. Back at the research facility, things are really heating up. Lindenmayer and SID have cooked up a secret plan, and they're enlisting the help of a fellow worker named Clyde. He's been playing around with some brand new technology called nanotech synthetic organism, which can apparently generate anything from the digital world based on certain modules. Clyde has taken a particular liking to Sheila 3.2, another AI in the facility. But things take a dark turn when Dr. Lindenmayer tricks Clyde into bringing Sheila to life for his own pleasure, only to replace her module with SID 3.7's. Clyde then shows Lindenmayer his latest creation, an AI snake that he's brought to life using the new technology. But the real shocker comes when Clyde cuts the snake in half, only to watch it heal itself completely using the silicon molecules in nearby glass. He tells Lindenmayer that as long as there is glass nearby, the snake will be eternal, and the sole means of killing it is to remove its module from its head. After hatching from a nanotech egg, SID wastes no time in taking out Clyde in a flash. Lindenmayer, who finally sees the monstrous creation he has made, freaks out and disappears into thin air. With SID now on the loose, Parker, a skilled cop who knows how the twisted AI thinks, is called upon to find and terminate SID. The stakes are high. If Parker succeeds, he will be granted a pardon. But just to ensure his compliance, he is implanted with a tracker that also contains a neural toxin in case he tries to bail. To make matters worse, Madison, a cunning criminal psychologist who has the upper hand, blackmails the police into letting her tag along with Parker on the mission. Though Parker is hesitant to have her on board, he has no choice but to work together with her as they embark on a dangerous journey to catch SID. Get ready for a gripping ride. As Sid's killing spree begins, he takes a page out of Charles Manson's book and brutally murders a couple, leaving the walls drenched in red. To make matters worse, he appears to have armed himself with a guard's gun. Parker and Madison race to the crime scene, only to find no trace of the killer. Meanwhile, Dr. Lindenmayer is petrified and has gone into hiding at a seedy motel. Desperate for clues, Parker and Madison break into Lindenmayer's office and start combing through his laptop. That's when they discover the shocking truth: SID is not just one personality, but a composite of over 200 different ones. Lindenmayer had created him and built him up over time, and all those personalities are now raging inside the AI. To Parker's horror, one of those personalities happens to be Matthew Grimes, the very person who destroyed his family. While Madison heads home to see her daughter, Karen, Parker stays in the car, listening to the radio for any news about an attack on the city. Meanwhile, SID is causing chaos at a nightclub, using people's screams to create a disturbing orchestra. When Parker and Madison arrive at the scene, the police have already been dealt with, and SID is back to torturing his hostages. Parker tries to take SID down with gunfire, but it doesn't seem to affect him much, though it does weaken him slightly. The chase begins as SID hijacks a police car and Parker and Madison pursue him. Sid taunts Parker over the radio, egging him on. Finally, they arrive at a bridge where SID jumps off and escapes, despite Parker's best efforts to shoot him again. Parker is convinced that Matthew Grimes, the person responsible for his family's death, is the dominant personality within SID. He warns Madison that SID will likely target areas with lots of people and media coverage, seeking attention. As if on cue, SID heads to a street market and takes out another victim, all while watching an Ultimate Fighting Championship on TV that's taking place in a nearby Olympic stadium. With a penchant for targeting public places, he makes his way to the stadium, eager to cause chaos. His first victim is a helpless girl, but it doesn't end there. He unleashes his brute force on her boyfriend, sending him flying down the stadium with a sickening thud. Even a shotgun blast to his hand doesn't deter him, as he fearlessly jumps into the ring. Meanwhile, Parker is hot on his trail, following a clue in a video filmed by the infamous SID at the market. But as soon as SID catches sight of Parker, he bolts, making a daring escape from the stadium. Not content with just fleeing, SID takes a woman hostage at gunpoint, warning Parker not to come any closer or risk her life. It's not a game, after all. But Parker is no pushover. He takes aim and fires, hoping to stop the crazed SID in his tracks. Sadly, it's too late. In a moment of pure evil, SID throws the poor woman off the moving train. As it chugs away, Parker is left with a sick feeling in his stomach, and a creepy kid waving goodbye to him from inside the train. The death of the woman is just the beginning of Parker's nightmare. Despite there being 50 eyewitnesses to the tragedy, all of them claim that Parker is the one who shot her. He pleads with his friend Billy, but it's no use. Parker is sent away in a police vehicle, his mind racing with flashbacks of his past. We learn that Parker was a cop who had been hot on the trail of a political criminal named Matthew Grimes. Parker was close to catching him when Grimes decided to take drastic measures to stop him. He kidnapped Parker's wife and daughter and locked them in a room with a ticking time bomb. As Grimes is being interviewed by two reporters, Parker stumbles upon the room where his family is being held captive. He tries to rescue them, but a laser detection sensor triggers an alarm that destroys the room. Miraculously, Parker survives and sets out to get his revenge on Grimes and his associates. Fueled by a dangerous cocktail of rage and fury, he acts on instinct and shoots the reporters who he mistook for danger. In the present day, the police truck comes to a halt after the drivers are taken out by none other than SID himself. As Parker sits in the back, SID can't resist the opportunity to taunt his favorite opponent. He reveals that Grimes is obsessed with Parker and even planted a toxic tracker inside him that can be activated via satellite. The sick game he's playing with Parker's life is his twisted idea of fun. Parker refuses to play along and contacts Madison to let her know he's innocent of the guards' murders. He reveals that he's with his family and heads to their grave, ready to accept his fate as the toxic tracker is about to be activated. But Madison isn't giving up on him just yet. She calls Billy, who quickly realizes the gravity of the situation. In a heroic effort, he dismantles the system responsible for releasing the deadly toxin, saving Parker's life in the process. Madison races to find Parker, but SID is one step ahead of her, disguised as a worker outside her house. Parker warns her that Sid's hunger for violence will only grow stronger and he'll need a bigger audience. Chaos erupts across the country, with people calling for borders to be closed to prevent Parker from escaping. Meanwhile, SID seizes control of a broadcast office and launches his own death TV. Parker and Madison rush to stop him, but when Madison sees her daughter, Karen, being held captive on the screen, Parker promises to rescue her. Madison shuts down the phone lines and broadcast while also capturing Dr. Lindenmayer at gunpoint. The SWAT team arrives and mistakenly shoots at Parker instead of SID. He flees into the elevator and fights his way to the 38th floor studio. Sid becomes even more unhinged when the phone lines are cut, relishing in the attention from viewers. Parker engages in a firefight with SID, but it seems like he doesn't even want to kill him. Billy calls off the police helicopter shooting at them, leaving Parker to handle SID himself. In an action-packed finale, they battle on the top of the building, with SID nearly throwing Parker off. But with a swing of a rope, Parker takes them both through a side window and into the building. Parker approached SID, who was covered in glass shards and struggling to breathe. He demanded to know where Karen was, but SID revealed that he could never truly be destroyed as long as his module was inside him. Quick-thinking Parker dug into Sid's back and removed the module, effectively ending him. But their triumph was short-lived when Madison appeared with Leidenmeyer at gunpoint, realizing that they needed Sid's help to find Karen. The movie takes a dramatic turn as they enter the virtual world to extract information from SID, with Leidenmeyer controlling the VR and Billy overseeing him. On the virtual rooftop, Madison pleaded with SID for Karen's whereabouts. Sid suddenly revealed that she had been there all along, hidden in plain sight. Just as they thought they had everything under control, Parker reappeared seemingly unharmed and undead, throwing a new wrench into their plans. In a shocking turn of events, SID realizes he's trapped inside the virtual reality world once again. With Billy's help, they try to escape, but things take a deadly turn when Billy is unexpectedly attacked and eliminated. The villainous AI then turns his attention to Parker, increasing the neural sensitivity to a dangerous level in an attempt to destroy his mind. Meanwhile, Carter is also trapped inside the VR, facing the wrath of a vengeful SID who is distorting everything around him. But Madison isn't one to back down. She takes on Leidenmeyer and fights her way to free Parker. Together, they embark on a mission to rescue Karen. But as they approach the hatch, Parker senses danger and warns Madison about the possible booby traps. Using his fake limb, he stops the rooftop fan to gain access, only to find a maze of pressure plates, lasers, and other deadly traps set up by SID. Sid leaves a taunting display screen for Parker, warning him of his impending doom and constantly mocking his efforts to stop the bomb. As the timer ticks down, Parker uses his resourcefulness to stop the bomb with a wire from his fake limb. The tension builds as the timer continues to count down, but just when it seems like all is lost, Parker successfully loops the timer and saves the day. The movie ends with Madison finally reunited with her daughter and Parker standing triumphantly on top of the building, smashing Sid's module to pieces and ensuring he can never cause any more harm.